Tonight, new insight into the wait for drug treatment. Documents show it can take as long as 6 weeks to access critical care. Saskatoon wants residents to report tent encampments as homelessness continues to rise. And growing concerns over short-staffed schools. Parents say their children with complex needs are slipping through the cracks.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It's Wednesday, December 3rd. CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Alexander Silberman. We begin with new insight into the critical wait for treatment amid a deepening addictions crisis in Saskatchewan. The province says it doesn't know how long people are waiting to get care, but new documents obtained by CBC News show otherwise. CBC's Alexander Kwan shows us what the numbers reveal.
She doesn't know how many people are waiting for treatment, or she doesn't care.
The NDP's critic for mental health and addictions has harsh words for her government counterpart. Betty Nippy-Albright says Minister Laurie Carr is incompetent and misleading the public. This after CBC News shared internal government documents showing it can take as long as 6 weeks for a person to receive inpatient addictions treatment.
It is clear with this information that you have affirms what we've been saying in the House, that she doesn't have a clue. She doesn't know her job.
Carr has repeatedly said in question period and told the media that the government does not have data on waitlist information. She made the claim again this week.
The homes track them individually, so it's really hard to kind of reconcile how all of that is happening at this point in time.
But the documents CBC obtained through a Freedom of Information request contradict that. They revealed the wait time to access treatment varies widely across the province. In some locations, people can receive treatment immediately. In other locations, including the 32-bed St. Joseph's Addiction Recovery Centre in Estevan, the average wait time is 6 weeks. Nippy-Albright, a former addictions counselor, says for people dealing with substance use disorders, every minute counts.
You have to act within that small window. But if they're turned away from detox, if they're turned away from accessing inpatient treatment, we lose them.
We asked the provincial government to clarify Minister Carr's position. Instead, it sent us a statement touting the government's nearly 800 treatment beds it now has in operation. It also pointed us to a new centralized intake system that will record wait times and wait list data. That new system is set to roll out sometime next year, a full 3 years after the government first announced it. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
Saskatoon police have now charged a second person in connection with the homicide of Chad Romanski. The 31-year-old's body was found outside the city in June. Romanski's family feared the worst when he vanished in May. They say addiction altered his life in the span of a year. Weeks after disappearing, searchers converged on this stand of trees. They found Romanski's remains in a shallow grave. On Wednesday, Gage Ulmer Bustler appeared in provincial court facing multiple charges.
Based on the charges that you can see were laid, there was an assault charge laid today, as well as a kidnapping charge, and then the ultimate first-degree murder.
The second person arrested has not been named. Also in Saskatoon, the city's fire department is cracking down on homeless encampments. It's asking the public to report tent sites so they can be torn down. But as Ashwarya Duda reports, advocates warn that approach could put vulnerable people at risk.
People living on the streets of Saskatoon are bracing for a frigid winter, and housing advocates say without somewhere to go, people could die.
I hate to say this, but I hope they have enough body bags, and I hope that they can find out who can be held accountable for all these deaths.
This mother knows it all too well.
3 years ago, on November 6th, my oldest son froze to death behind a church on 20th Street.
She says before he died, her son struggled to stay warm below vents from buildings that blew warm air onto the sidewalk. The Saskatoon Fire Department says tent encampments are also dangerous. It wants residents to report any encampments they see so they can be shut down.
In the last 2 months, we've had 90 encampment fires, so the risks of the number of encampments that continue to go up, the risk of fire is more imminent than ever, and we had 2 injuries recently. Luckily, we have not had a fatality, but this is definitely something we want to prevent.
Raymer says places like this are also breeding grounds for diseases, violence, overdoses, and human trafficking. She says they have a backlog of almost 100 encampments that they'll be inspecting and tearing down. The department will offer rides to shelters, warm-up centers, and hotels.
That is stupid. They're displacing those people.
Warm-up centers have about 300 spaces, and there's no beds. We're told that shelters in Saskatoon are almost always full and have longer intake processes. But the point-in-time count for Saskatoon found 2,000 people are unhoused, and advocates are questioning where is the city going to put all these people that they remove.
With all the beds filled at the shelters, people are trying to find shelters in the ditches. How inhumane is this in the frickin' ditches? They are not all drug addicts out there. There are elderly people out there. There are people that have lost their houses, can't afford rent.
Caught in the middle are agencies stretched thin. The United Way helps fund community organizations that help homeless people. It says that advocates need more money and a plan from all levels of the government.
We need to focus on prevention, otherwise we'll be dealing with twice the enormity of this issue in 5-10 years.
He says prevention includes better graduation rates and more employment opportunities for Indigenous people, along with more affordable housing and mental health supports. Ashwarya Duda, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The Saskatchewan government has added another $1 billion to the deficit, committing another $800 million for SaskPower and nearly $200 million to pay for carbon price fuel charges it never collected. The news dropped last night at a committee meeting, which Crown Investments Minister Jeremy Harrison didn't attend. That sparked backlash from NDP's SaskPower critic, Alina Young, who says the utility may need to raise power rates in response to its financial shortfall.
We have a Crown corporation that should be doing well. We have ministers of the Crown who should be answering basic questions about why they need to, again, write themselves a check for $1 billion halfway through the year and explain to people what the plan is for the Crowns. We don't know that.
The Saskatchewan government says ministers are not required to attend every committee meeting and that the new spending is for investments to refurbish power plants and connect the province's north and south power grids. The official opposition is also speaking out about short-staffed schools. The NDP says the province is failing children with complex needs, and parents of 2 of those students are sharing their stories. As Jeremy Warren shows us, the lack of support is putting stress on entire families.
As a result,
Aaron Gerwing says parents of autistic children are hearing something they should never hear. You can't go to school. It's what her 7-year-old boy Luca was told this year. He needs constant one-on-one support. Gerwing says he's been put on half days at his Saskatoon public school because that's the only time he's supported by an educational assistant. And it's not just his school schedule that's affected.
right now I'm not working. Many families are finding it impossible to have full-time jobs because somebody has to be on constant call. Somebody has to be able to go to the school on a moment's notice. It affects families a lot.
Gerwing is one of two parents who spoke on Wednesday at an event put on by the opposition. The parents and the NDP say there are not enough EAs in schools, and they want the province to boost classroom supports. Earlier this year, Saskatoon Public Schools laid off 80 educational assistants. It blamed a lack of money from the federal Jordan's Principal program. This Saskatoon mom also worries that without more support, her 7-year-old son will start distracting his classmates.
Without EA support, teachers cannot do their jobs. Teachers need EA support so they are better able to support the needs of other students. Having EA support for the children that need it benefits everybody.
Mr. Speaker, earlier this morning I was joined by two moms.
The opposition NDP is demanding the province step in to fill the funding gap left by Ottawa and hire more EAs. In Wednesday's question period, the education minister responded.
We're disappointed the federal government made changes to Jordan's principal funding, Mr. Speaker, but I can speak to what this government has invested to support students across Saskatchewan, Mr. Speaker. Saskatoon Public, as an example, received $54 million for classroom support funding, a 10.6% increase in funding compared to the year prior, Mr. Speaker.
The minister acknowledged there are still challenges when it comes to supporting students with complex needs, and he says the province is committed to working with school divisions to solve the problem. Jeremy Warren, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Here's a look at the chilly scene in Saskatoon, where another dusting of snow is blanketing the city. We'll have your full forecast right after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Big changes are coming to Saskatoon's College Drive with the rollout of dedicated rapid transit bus lanes. But the city says that will result in a longer commute for drivers. The Transportation Committee heard about the new traffic patterns on Tuesday. Bike lanes and a pedestrian crossing at Clarence Avenue will also be added to College. 2 left turns will be eliminated. One councillor suggested the city could use artificial intelligence to make commutes smoother.
It's a very busy street, and adding BRT on there is going to make it a very important busy street. And so I think anything that we can do to use AI to make it better and more functional. We're putting a lot of effort and money into the BRT system. I think it would be wise for us to make it as successful for all users as we could.
AI could be used to analyze traffic and trigger green lights when needed. Construction on the bus lanes starts next year. Saskatoon's rapid transit system is set to start operating in 2028. And a powerful winter storm is walloping Atlantic Canada, delivering an early blast of winter weather and some dangerous conditions. Heavy snow and strong winds battered Nova Scotia, PEI, and Newfoundland, forcing the closure of many schools, government offices, and businesses, and knocking out power to thousands of homes. As much as 50 centimeters of snow is expected in some areas, as well as winds of up to 100 kilometers per hour. The nor'easter also prompted the cancellation of all ferry services between Nova Scotia and PEI. And weather specialist Mickey Wolf is here with a look at the forecast. Mickey, incredible the amount of snow over on the East Coast. I'm sure a lot of folks here are thankful we're avoiding that for now.
I am personally thankful, Alexander, that we are avoiding 50 centimeters of snow and 100-kilometer-an-hour winds. Doesn't mean we won't see any snow. Let's take a look at some of the temperatures we saw first here today in Saskatchewan. Looking a little bit chilly overall for our daytime highs. We're seeing highs near 11 degrees for Moose Jaw, minus 13 for Regina. And then taking a look at some of our skies here. Now we're seeing a little bit of snow coming through the central part of the province, but certainly not in amounts they're seeing in the Maritimes. Taking a look ahead to the next few days, we're going to see a low pressure system moving through the province that will bring some more gradual snowfall with it and a little bit of snowfall after it. And then over the next few days, we're going to have some clear breaks as we get into Saturday, but things are going to start to cool down a little bit more over the weekend. Now, looking at some of our snowfall, as you can see, there's going to be some gradual accumulation in the south and central regions, and then kind of Friday night into Saturday, we'll see a little bit of heavier snow in that southwest corner, but overall, we're looking at up to 10 centimeters in the south, again in that southwest corner, and everywhere else is looking in that sort of 2 to 4 centimeter range. Over up in the north, we're seeing definitely a little bit more snowfall concentrated there, up to 9 centimeters as well, and that'll be gradually happening over the next few days. Now, just briefly touching into some of our winds, we've seen a little bit of gusting in south and central Saskatchewan, and we will see that again in the early morning hours. It's going to make things feel a little bit chillier than our base temperatures. So this is the wind chill we can expect tomorrow across Saskatchewan. We're looking at -11 for Saskatoon, and it's going to feel like -24 for Stony Rapids. Taking a look though at our daytime temperatures for Regina and our overnights, we're going to see a little bit of a warm up tomorrow and potentially some small flurries, and then into Friday, again, that gradual snowfall. A cold break, but a bit of a break over the weekend with some sun and cloud. And then as we get into Monday and Tuesday, we will start to see a warm up again from that chillier -19 on Saturday. For Saskatoon, again, bit of a warm up tomorrow before we get down to some very cool temperatures on Saturday. And then again, Monday and Tuesday, we might see some snow coming in, but that snow, Alexander, is not going to be as heavy as it is over on the east coast of Canada.
All right, Mickey, I think we'll take a little bit of cold over all of that snow.
Absolutely, I certainly will.
All right, thanks, Mickey.
Thank you.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is promising substantial funding to fix the on-reserve child welfare system. Carney's commitment comes as the federal government faces a court-ordered deadline to create a plan. But as Olivia Stefanovich explains, it's at odds with a competing vision.
We will complete the crucial work.
A pledge from the Prime Minister to fix First Nations child and family services once and for all.
Our approach to child welfare will be First Nations-led, community-led, and it will be supported by significant additional funding.
After almost 2 decades of litigation between First Nations and the federal government, the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal has set a deadline of December 22nd, the day Ottawa must submit its plan to reform the on-reserve foster care system.
This moment in time will go down in history.
But Carney's government isn't the only one preparing a proposal.
And so we're going to file some next steps.
CBC News got behind-the-scenes access to a session at the Assembly of First Nations Special Chiefs Assembly, hosted by the National Children's Chiefs Commission, directed by the AFN to come up with a counterplan.
We've got 25 years of evidence, and we've worked with public finance experts to create a finance approach that would create measurable outcomes for children.
They say it will cost around $50 billion, more than the amount former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau put forward.
If you wish to oppose.
And the AFN rejected.
Every day that we spend discussing the technicalities of an agreement is another day that a child is in care. And that is something that is important to me that we address.
The Indigenous Services Minister says she's determined to bring the two sides together.
It's not just the deadline that I'm concerned about, it's these kids that need us to do our work collaboratively, reflecting the realities.
We cannot take one child and treat the other child differently.
The chair of the National Children's Chiefs Commission says the minister's offer comes too late.
Is it possible that you will be able to create one plan within the next couple of weeks and come together? Do you have any confidence that will happen?
No. Well, you know, that option was there when this came out, when the ruling came out. The option was always there.
It will be up to the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal to decide which solution to move forward to fix the broken on-reserve child welfare system once the Commission and the government make their filings later this month. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
The federal government is committing another $235 million to support Ukraine. The announcement was made jointly by Defense Minister David McGuinty and Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand. The money is earmarked for a number of areas, including medical supplies, personal protective equipment, communications tools, and the rebuilding of critical defense infrastructure. Global Affairs Canada says Ottawa has committed nearly $22 billion in funding for Ukraine since the start of the conflict. And that includes more than $6 billion for military assistance until 2029. Well, a liquor store in Virginia had a highly unusual break-in. The perpetrator was found like this in the bathroom, crashed out on the floor next to the toilet, but not before ransacking the shelves and going on a bit of a bender. A local animal protection crew managed to detain the very intoxicated raccoon. It seemed pointless to question this masked bandit, but he was taken to the shelter to sleep it off for a few hours before being safely released back into the wild. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. Malaysia is resuming its search for one of aviation's greatest mysteries. Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 disappeared over a decade ago. It was carrying 12 crew and 227 passengers, including 2 Canadian citizens. Malaysia's Transport Ministry confirmed the search would pick back up on December 30th. The country says a U.S.-based robotic company will scour new areas of the seabed over a period of 55 days. But the exact locations of the search were not revealed. And Mickey Wolf is back with a final look at the weather. Mickey, some cold wind chills out there tonight.
Cold wind chills is correct, Alexander. Before we get to those warmer temperatures tomorrow, let's take a look at what we'll expect this evening across Saskatchewan. Folks, we're going to see still a little bit of a chillier evening in the south and central regions. Definitely in that southeast corner, we're looking at lows tonight of -21 all the way around that Manitoba border in east central and southeast. And then tonight in the north as well, looking pretty chilly in the far north. We're seeing temperatures down in the -20s. As we get into the day though, tomorrow things are going to warm up quite nicely across the province. We'll start to see a little bit of breaks from the snow in the north by midday, and then again some snow will be returning back. And then taking a look at the south and central regions of the province, we are going to see a warm up tomorrow. We'll see those highs hovering around -1, -2 near Regina, and then in the central region kind of in that -3 to -8 range. So a warmer day will be upon us tomorrow, Alexander. Things are starting to look warm, at least for tomorrow.
We'll take a bit of a warm up.
Thank you. I will take
Thanks,
one.
Mickey. Here's another eye-popping auction story for you. You're looking at the winter egg, one of the last Fabergé eggs in private hands. It sold to an unidentified buyer for a record-setting $42 million Canadian. It's the first time in more than 20 years that a Fabergé egg was put up for public auction. This egg was commissioned by Tsar Nicholas II in 1913 as a gift for his mother. The famed St. Petersburg jeweler made 50 of the eggs in total for the Russian royal family. There are believed to be 43 surviving eggs, most of them in museums. And that's our show for this Wednesday evening. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here tomorrow evening. Take care.